when you're in the military, regardless of what branch, you're, lack of better terms, you're kind of coddled. You're taken care of. All you have an ID card where you can go and swipe and go to a medical appointment. You don't have to worry about anything else besides showing up. But once transitioning out, it's like a shock factor. It's like, hey, you have to go figure this out. You have to figure out the copays.
Operation Successful Transition is kind of the gist of it is to help people in that transition, right? We help with things like housing, benefits, mental health, and work and entrepreneurship. So you've
Hmm.
come and talked to us all about that your housing part in aiding veterans in buying land and homes. But tell us about you.
Okay, well, I'm an Army veteran. I served in both the Army National Guard, and I served about 11 years on active duty as a field artillery officer. I've done everything from platoon leader up to I was a battery or company level commander, and then I was a OC out in Fort Polk where I helped train service members or in a simulated combat scenario. I help people employ artillery systems and all of that to deter threats. And now I had opportunity to serve veterans through the Texas Veterans Land Board. And the cool thing about it is it feels like an ongoing transition. It was the first opportunity I had out of the military to, have employment, and through employment, I found a lot of purpose here, where I'm connected with a lot of employers. I'm connected with a lot of nonprofits, and really, it's an ongoing transition, I would say. When you're in the military, regardless of what branch, you're, for lack of better terms, you're kind of coddled. You're taken care of. You have an ID card where you can go and swipe and go to a medical appointment. You don't have to worry about anything else besides showing up. And now you better show up because you're gonna get in trouble if you don't, for wasting the military's funds. But once transitioning out, it's like a shock factor. It's like, hey, you have to go figure this out. You have to figure out the copays, and so forth and so on. So I do believe that those that have the educational route, the business route, whatever it is they decide to do, is still a really great space to be in when you can help a veteran because you've already experienced the things that this 20-year command sergeant major or colonel, they hadn't had to deal with those things directly, because you pretty much had a safety net for your entire career.
Your business was about taking care of our country. It wasn't about taking care of life details. So
Exactly.
and I've talked to a lot of veterans who talk about, my whole day was planned, the whole schedule was planned, what I wore was planned,
Yes.
everything was planned, so I didn't have to make decisions really, except for
Yeah.
what's involved with the work that you're doing. And then you get out and like there's so many choices and you have to pick everything. You have to, choose what you're going to do every day and
Yeah. You
time
go
of day.
from you go from not asking for permission to go outside of 250 miles. I think my first time experiencing this was my wife and I. My wife's a veteran too. She served. She was also a army captain like I was, commanded the unit, same unit that, out in Fort Hood. We were in the same brigade, same regiment. Um, but our first time experiencing this was back in, I want to say, 23. We flew to Vegas, and it happened to be I think it was a Friday night. And I looked at it, I was like, we didn't have to ask our employers anything besides, I don't even think we needed to take the extra time off, but we got back in time, to get back in, for work. You try that in the military. I did have a scenario where I had a service member that found themselves a bit farther than they should have been, unapproved leave in a different country, and then the pandemic struck and they got stuck there. So
Oh,
that was an interesting time, but those are problems you have to deal with as a civilian, and that's been, I would say, the biggest, I don't know, maybe serendipity of being a civilian. You really have more choices, so many choices that you don't really know what to do with your time. Like, okay, do I get up and do PT today? I was still getting up doing PT. I still have uniforms hung up in my closet, but I'm not going to be wearing them anymore. I'm not. I'm done with service. Had good honorable service and had a great time, jumping out of planes and blowing up stuff in the name of freedom. It was a good time. But now I get to do this and give back. You find yourself at a table talking to service members, getting ready to transition at TAP, and they have questions. It may start off with VLB, but it always veers off to, well, I don't know about my compensation and my claims, and how does this process work? I'm looking for a job, and there's always a connection. You're always a connector to these other resources. Texas has great programs where you can become a entrepreneur, go through the entrepreneurship route, your VRNE benefits. If you need help with your compensation, your benefits, we can point you to those resources. And there's some great nonprofits out there as well that has a lot of resources. And just to get back to your point, these past few years since getting out, especially being connected with VLB, has been feeling like a ongoing educational session where people like you had the opportunity to, like you said, pursue that educational route and just have all of those, have all the answers and be a great advocate to, listen to me, like, listen, it's a lot of times like I think sometimes people feel like military service is like a big requirement. Like it's great to serve, but I would dare to tell a service member to kind of parallel their service with things that they think they want to do when they get out. Because once you get out, you don't want to be overwhelmed with all of this information. Just start thinking about that thing you want to do when you are close to ETS, close to retirement. Take that last couple years and just focus in on, hey, this is what I want to be when I grow up. Don't be that, you know, um, that person that did 20 years and left your development at age 17. You
Yeah.
get what I mean?
Yeah, I've talked to people who say, have a plan, and that's kind of what you're talking about too. See what you like. Maybe you've done something in the military that you enjoy doing and you want to keep doing that later. You have skills that you've learned that you can apply to life outside of the military. So start looking at where you can fit that in. And, that's things that people went into education did a long time ago. We're trying to figure out what's our path, what are we going to do, what are we kind of good at, what do we enjoy doing enough to do
Mm-hmm.
every day and make money at.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know that we have all the answers like Yoda, right? But yeah, obviously, I got involved in this community to connect people. I'm good
Mm-hmm.
at connecting, and this is a group that needs connection, right? Connect with
Yeah.
the benefits, with the loans, with the land, with the, all the things with, cemeteries, with where to go when you're a senior and you can't take care of everything anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
there's no reason to not get help if you need it, These places,
Yeah.
kind of preserve your dignity and help you, everybody needs help over the fence at some time or another, right?
Mm-hmm. And I guess there are a few programs I can mention that I've seen some success with personally and other people I've seen around that have some pretty good success stories. I'll start with County Veteran Service Officers. You all have a great one, Pam Robinson out there. You have a great team out there. There are other counties that have great VSOs. You want to always make sure they're accredited if you want to have them, dealing with your claims. And I say them, not necessarily VSOs, but whomever. If you're dealing with anybody dealing with your claims, you want to make sure that that person is accredited through the VA, and they may have accreditation through the TVC or somewhere else, but you want to make sure they have accreditation. That way, they have the most up-to-date information based off that Code of Federal Regulation 30 FCFR and it's all the information that they would be abreast of. Um, the next thing is for those transitioning out of the military, I would recommend that um, they th if they have any ailments, make sure that they're getting it documented. And don't try to be the tough person. Like, now I'm going to tough my way through, because once you put that claim in and the VA sees that you haven't gone out and been seen for these things you're claiming, it's a high chance you get them denied. And then you got to go through, reapplying and doing a supplemental claim. And I don't want to misspeak because I'm not accredited. So
Right.
but definitely you want to make sure you're in. They have people embedded on installations at like Fort Hood, Fort Polk. You got people that are there to help those transit service members, whether they're going to do a BDD claim or fully developed claim, or it's another claim, standard claim that they would do when they're getting out of service. And then for education, Texas Veterans Commission here in Texas, they have plenty of resources where throughout, I think your area, you've got education and employment. You got Marcus Bollinger, great resource out there that,
It's amazing.
yeah, I mean, he's well connected with everything in East Texas and anywhere else you want to get connected. James Nickerson in my area, Josh Pinson out at Fort Hood. That's just really good resources where you can get connected. Women's veterans, Sharon Stewart down in San Antonio. She's the South Texas rep. Women veterans have very unique experiences, and they have very unique um, needs that need to be met. And that Veterans Coordinator Sharon Stewart down in San Antonio, she does great work down there, bringing all types of seminars and participating in one on the 24th out there for estate planning. So just get connected with those personnel too. Texas Workforce Commission has a subsection called the Texas Veterans Leadership Program. And they have, actually, I have their sheet right in front of this computer. It looks like about 20 different representatives throughout the state. Sam Blanks, great guy. Mark Kaysen, actually, one of my coworkers, Rodney Washington, used to work for the Texas Veterans Leadership Program. But what they do, they take your resume and they can literally, put it right there with the employers. So they're very helpful. TVC, Texas Veterans Commission, also has personnel that can help you with resume writing. They're not going to write it for you, but they're going to, help point you in the right direction on how to write different types of resumes. Major Talent's a great agency with Ken Cates. He goes around the nation helping veterans and service members find that next job. It's kind of like a headhunters. They'll take your resume, same thing, but they do this at large. It's outside of Texas, and in Texas. So it's a lot of great resources out here, and I'm just glad to be a part of, the conversation, pointing people to resources here in
Yeah.
Texas.
It is about getting connected, and that's, to services, to jobs, to all this stuff too, and then just to people. You're used to having a community around you, people who get it, they understand what you've been through, and they understand the camaraderie and the family that you get in the military. I think that was surprising to me when I started talking to veterans and getting to know them, was the camaraderie was the thing that they really missed.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's mentioned to me more than PTSD. Maybe people aren't talking to me about PTSD, but that's a thing that affects them, and that's a reason for a lot of the um, suicides, unfortunately, that happen, is because people get isolated and they miss that connection with other humans.
Yeah, I would say the TAP process, I think, was a great initiative by the government to make that mandatory. And you do get a lot of resources, but sometimes I think it's a bit overwhelming.
Yeah,
People have different levels that they learn and that they catch on to things. So for that person that may not know how to piece all these things together, they could find themselves on the other side of transition, just unemployed, a bunch of information and not knowing what to do with it, including access to their healthcare. And I think that's really what it comes from. They don't have that connection piece. You don't learn about the off-base transition team that exists through, I think it's through the Department of Labor, which is like an extension of your TAP, but it's not on the active duty side. It's now that you're out of service, you can do off-base transition team. And they'll still bring those resources in and help you, transition. I mean, help you navigate the resources that you have. And then the healthcare piece is another thing. They just don't know. It's the education. Hey, what now that I'm out, what do I have? What can I do? Some think it's nothing. And they don't even know where to start. And it's not because they don't have the information, it's just they have it and they don't know what to do with it. It's like, oh, I got this. Here's a perfect example because I
yeah, a bag
found this
full,
yesterday.
a
I
bag full of.
found I found this book in my drawer yesterday. This is from when I got out of the military. And I forgot I had it. This is a VA benefits book. It tells you everything that, it was actually from class when I went through TAP. Great book, but if you're not opening it up and looking through it, you're not going to know what you have access to. So that's kind of my point. It's cool I had it right there. It's like a little prop.
Right? Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm open to no questions you may have.
Yeah, yeah, you brought your wife with you, or did you guys meet while you were serving in
Yeah, yeah,
married during all your
we
time of
met in the
service?
army. Yeah, we met in the army. She was we both were prior enlisted. I was a mechanic. She was a intel analyst when she was enlisted, and then she went through officer candidate school and became an officer. I went through ROTC and currently got my degree while in college and then commissioned in the active duty. And her entire time in service was active duty. So she did about a decade. We both did over a decade in service, but we didn't do 20. But we're at a good space where I think God wants us to do what we're doing now. She works for the VA now. She helps veterans with their claims and ratings and things like that. And yeah, I do outreach for VLB. So it's a nice little sandwich we have going on of always helping in some regard, helping veterans. But she did great things in the Army. She was a transportation officer. Like I said, she commanded a unit, and Now we got, you know, we got kiddos, and it's good. Got a 9 soon to be 10-year old, got a 1 soon to be 2-year old, and a 8-month-old little boy. But we met
Yeah,
right here in Fort Hood.
nice. That's y'all have stayed connected with the whole camaraderie bit, I guess. You've stayed connected by working pretty exclusively with veterans, right? You're serving and giving back and staying
Yeah,
connected. Yeah.
yeah, it's a little different because I agree with whomever you talk to. That is a gap. When I was my first sergeant, and I can accredit this to both first sergeants I had. I had some pretty strong NCOs I worked with, and my first NCO, my first sergeant was very like drill sergeant. I had good morale in the unit, and it was a lot of like the discipline. I think it was very necessary in that first half of my command time. And then my second uh first sergeant came in very same thing, very disciplinarian, but a little bit more lax, but he, just great. I think it was great dynamics with both. I had great experiences with both, and I learned so much from both of them and their leadership styles. And they didn't sugarcoat anything with me. But I'm saying all that to say I thank them, and I hope they get to hear this, hopefully. But they they contributed to that unit being very having high morale. And we would come out to PT in the mornings, and I mean we would stick our foot out the door. We barely get out the door, and I mean they're clapping and yelling and, hey, we see you, sir, we see you first time. Like we were trying to sneak out the door so they not making all this noise at 6:30 in the morning for salute the flag.
Okay. Yeah.
And the funny thing, my wife and I were still dating at the time, and she couldn't figure out why that unit across the street was making all that noise, and she didn't know it was my unit till one day she walked through
Mhm.
there and she heard them hooping and hollering. So, um, it is, and that's my Mississippi coming out. I said hooping and hollering. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. She's from Maryland. But yeah, you're right. Having a fellow peer just come sit in your office, or you're out there in the field eating sunflower seeds, and hearing artillery shooting, like that's the things you don't have that access anymore. And there's a retired general that just wrote a book. I think his name is General Beagle. It's called When the Map Runs Out. I hadn't read it yet, but that title alone, it sounds like something I would want to pick up, because it's exactly what it is. That map is run out for your time in service. You don't navigate on that map anymore. Now you're on a new map. It's time to navigate that one and navigate it well. But you got to have the resources to do so.
Yeah. Well, I wrote it down. I've been writing notes here of things I want to address with you or because of you. You're a great connector and I want to be like you. But the Voices of Veterans, I want to do that for sure.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Okay.
talk about that tonight for sure. And
Okay.
that VLB land auction has my interest peaked because of my nonprofit that I've just started. I've got some stuff going on with some family members and uh, I'm not at liberty to discuss,
Understood. Yeah.
but it's absorbing me like heavily. It's very heavy right now. So I do have that nonprofit though, and plan to build a kind of tiny homes community for veterans who are housing insecure in our area. And learn
Mm.
more about the homeless population in our area and things, where do they go when it's cold out? And there are lots of different facets of people. There are people coming out of jail who've been there who need a place till they get on their feet again, or people out of
Hmm.
rehab, or people just down. There's a lot of reasons why you can become homeless, or whatever.
Yeah.
Just having a place, that's a community.
I,
And
I I think that's great. I met a gentleman at the American Legion convention about was it almost 3 years ago. He I've shared his name several times before, but I may not hear since I got his permission before, but um, I just tell about the story. He was homeless. His ex-wife took everything. Was a combat engineer, I believe, or EOD. He was EOD, explosive ordnance disposal tech, and he wrote a book. On that book, he's got a command wire of a explosive device in his mouth. He was actively trying to take himself out while he was deployed, and came home to nothing. I think that's pretty much the story. He came home to nothing or something like that. But his ex-wife took everything. He was homeless, and VLB was his saving grace. So he was able to buy land, and he wound up becoming the president of his chamber of commerce, and he was the post commander of his American Legion right there in Texas, right down in
that's amazing.
Nixon, Texas. And he wrote a book, and he was in tears when I met him, and I didn't understand. But VLB wound up being a saving grace, and he's got a farm, so that took him from a low spot. And I like what you're doing, going out there and helping the veterans. Have you ever heard of the Texas Veterans Network, TVN?
No, I haven't heard of that. I'm gonna write it down though.
Okay.
What is it?
Te Texas Veterans Network is it's a nonprofit. It was established by I think Army and some Marines out in Houston called Combined Arms. So throughout the nation, they've got their reaches throughout the nation. They're getting bigger, but they started in Houston, and here in Texas, Governor Abbott endorsed them as like a one-stop shop for referrals for veteran-owned businesses, veteran-owned nonprofits, and so forth and so on. So Texas Veteran Network, I think the rep for this area is either David Archuleta down in San Antonio, or it may be Patty Morgan. She lives in Central Texas, I think Dripping Springs area. But she one of those two, that they'll be great to bring in other resources. But that's exactly what they are. They're just a referral system. A client will create a portal, and if you got a question about land, I'll get an email. If it's based off my zip code, I'll get an email as a land resource, and I have to respond within 72 hours to that client with my services and whatever other nonprofit that you have, that's in it. It's like 1,400 different nonprofits and businesses in that network that someone
Yeah.
can use. That it'd be a
I've
good
talked to
one.
different people and gotten a couple other websites. One girl talked to me. She gave me a different website, but she was like, you can go in and ask for anything. And if somebody has it available, they'll answer and give it to you, like getting
Mm,
land donated or, finding some that's for sale like you have or something like that.
mm-hmm,
I just got called, inspired, whatever you want to say, to do this.
mm-hmm.
And I sat honestly with ChatGPT, how do I make this happen? And I went down a rabbit hole and I just started a nonprofit and I made it happen. And it's like
That's
just each step is kind of unfolding in front of me like it's supposed to do when you get called to do something. So I'm meeting you and I'm getting another website to go to, and I've met some people who want to sponsor and who want to work with me, and I've, so excited about that, and got a local company who's a big employer, is interested in supporting veteran activities. And so
mm-hmm.
I feel like this could be something really big, and I'm a little scared and I'm real excited about it. So
I think it will be. You got a good ground out there. I like every time I come out there, it feels peaceful. Like the drive out there is peaceful, coming out the College Station. And then it just seems like it's got a lot of potential for the things that you want to do. You got the land, you got the space, you got the support. And it's not as busy. I like that. It's busy, but it ain't Austin. It ain't San
yeah,
Antonio busy
we're
or
we're
Dallas busy. It's
a little more rural city, sort of. We're
Yeah,
not as big as those places, but we are growing. And
it's perfect.
I moved here in 1989 when I was still a student at Texas A&M. I started at Ohio State and finished here. My dad was a professor at Ohio State, and he transferred here in fall of '88. I'd never been to
Okay.
Texas, so I pictured it like spaghetti westerns with the cactus and weeds and
Hmm.
stuff. And at Christmas time, it was green and lush and warm. So I went home and put in my 2 weeks notice and drove down here with all my stuff. So I've been here since
Okay.
January '89, and I've seen the town completely change and grow. And where I live was kind of the south end of town back
Mm,
then, and now it's in the middle of College Station. So we're
that's wild.
we have
So
rush
30
hour
years,
now,
yeah.
right?
30,
Yeah.
almost 40 years. That's some
Long time.
perspective.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen it grow more than double. So we used to have three restaurants. Now there's a whole bunch to pick from.
It is nice out there. I took my
Yeah.
kids to that y'all recommended, was it Lick, the ice cream place?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. We went right there on right next to the school. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool. It's really
Yeah.
good. Uh-oh.
There's lots of stuff to see here. So I look forward to seeing you next week.
Okay.
Before we get out of here, tell us, if you were talking to someone who was about to transition out, what would your finest piece of advice be for them?
Oof. Someone getting ready to transition out. Okay. Well, I think I would start with that 2 year mark. You typically get up to 100 and out to 180 days to do your compensation, your before benefits delivered at discharge BDD claim. I would recommend getting seen by your provider for pretty much anything that you think you want to claim. Um, just go ahead and get that knocked out. That way you at least have fresh documents. You're gonna have to do medical exams on your way out anyway. But if you're, and I guess my main point is when you're in the mission, I know before I got out November of 22, I was still out there in the field, with rotational units doing my job. So I was very much focused on, helping the unit, and I didn't focus much on myself. And I paid for that on the flip side, but I had a blessing of being able to work with an agency where I'm always connected with these resources. So the transition's been really nice for me. But everyone may not have that opportunity, may be in a job where they may not do anything with veterans. So that's one, go to sick call, get things documented and stop trying to be tough and just get seen. That's the first thing I would say. Then the second thing I would say is financially, start saving your money. Get you at least, 6 months of savings, because you don't know, how long it's gonna be before you find that next job. You may be, in charge of all these things in the military, but once you get out, you may not have that smooth transition to a job that's going to be equal to what you do. You may not be I don't you may not be in charge of anyone. You may have gone from being in charge of 4,000 people to nobody but yourself. And that could be, pretty different. It ain't about the rank on your chest at that point. It's now the influence you have with those around you. Um, it's not because, you gave an order, because it's influential leadership at that point. Um, what else? So we said finances, we had said medical. Resume, start getting it together, and like you mentioned before, those certifications, get those certifications. If you got a technical job, go ahead and get those IT certifications. If you can get a top secret, get that top secret clearance on your way out, because it can help you with job placement on your way out. And then just yeah, it's quite a bit. I'm trying to see what else I would recommend. Don't limit yourself with the job search. That job you find may not be the dream job, but be okay with if it's got the benefits package you're looking for, and it's gonna pay your bills, and it's a good start for you. Then you go ahead and do that. And then yeah, don't be scared to go back to school if you want to do that. That's something else you could do. But yeah, on the way out, just focus on getting those things together. Take care of your family. Um, Yep, seek the Lord. Make sure you pray, because make sure you do that first. I should have said that first anyway, but everything is going to be amazing. It's going to be a great learning experience, and you get to have the freedom of not being stuck to 250-mile restrictions anymore. So it'd be great.
Yeah, I love your commentary and on especially on don't be the tough guy, right? If get everything checked out and documented because that sets you up for all these benefits and all these things, like property tax, like, better rates on loans. Like there are so
Mhm.
many things that having that certain amount of disability on your record, we're not wanting to judge and call you a cripple, right, in any way,
Mhm.
but we want you to take advantage of the things that you've earned, the benefits that you've earned, document it so you can get access to all those things.
Most definitely.
That's great advice. I've
Yep.
enjoyed very much getting to know you and spend a little time with you today. Thank you so much for coming on and getting all the approvals that you needed to teach us about VLB and yeah, I look forward to a long friendship with you.
Oh yes, ma'am. Yep. Same here. I'll
Good.
be here. I'll be here, and you just let me know when you need. We can talk any direction, VLB, some leadership stuff, because either direction, we can help the masses, help people out, veteran and non-veteran.